Welcome to SpotOn Profile Basics. Each webinar covers one module within Zoracle's SpotOn profile. Let's join Rebecca Monet, President and Chief Scientist of Zoracle Profiles now, as she discusses sales style and business path.
So today we're going to be covering, it's actually a small section on the report, the SpotOn profile report, but it's a powerful section, so I thought we would address it today. So when you're looking at your results of your prospect, the first page you're going to see is this page. I want you just to sort of look at this one. This is an actual prospect that one of you is currently working with. And you'll just sort of notice that there's demographics and what position they had, how much money they have to invest, etc. I'm sure you're looking at that, especially when it comes to what their income is and what their ability is to invest in the future business. I wanted you to get a quick look. Some of you may have already seen this, what your prospect's view of the report is. There are a few things that we are not reporting out to the prospect that you are getting. Some of them may come into your office with it, so I wanted you to have a quick kind of look at what it looks like. This is the summary page from the prospect's view. It's just neat and tidy, everything's sort of on a single page, and then from this page on it looks very similar to your report. We'll probably cover more of this next week, but I wanted you just to sort of see that there's this quick summary, and then it sort of tells them what their business path is. In this case, this is an individual that's a single unit operator. It tells them what their values are and what their work style is, in this case, an achiever, thinker, what their best fit is as it relates to a culture or a company, and then their 8 core competencies. In this case, you can see this lady has a high HR and training background, and the first screen you just saw showed that she is a recruiter, so it's not surprising that she has some really good skills in the area of HR. One of the things I want you to notice is that on both your report and their report, there's this silhouette. Over here you'll see this woman with a briefcase. This lets you know for those unisex names that this is a woman or this is a man. Now some of these folks you've probably already spoken to, but if you're also using the tool as a lead generation process and you don't know this unisex name, if it's a male or female, you'll know instantly from this particular place. So this is the same prospect. We're going to be talking about the sales orientation and the potential business path. So if we look at these two sort of in tandem, you'll begin to start to see the kinds of businesses that you may wish to show this individual. Now remember, you're looking at this prospect as a whole, so you don't look at just these two pieces, but just from these two pieces you can tell a lot. So combined with the other data, this will be super valuable. So prospect 1, which is the recruiter we were just now looking at, who has high HR types of skills, we'll see that her sales type is consultative. We'll talk about what a consultative sales is. I'm sure you kind of have a big picture of what that already is. An advisor, an educator, someone that's good at consultative types of sales. Business potential. She needs to be in a business that allows her to have lots of freedom. She is a true entrepreneur. She's not really great at tied down types of systems, but she also has a capability of being a single unit franchisee. So we're looking for a business where she can use her consultative sales skills, and we're looking for a business that still has a certain level of entrepreneurship left. Probably an early stage franchise business, probably a stage 2 company. If you go back to our stages of growth course, you'll know what that means. But it still has to have a certain level of being entrepreneurial and obviously a single unit operator. Let's look at another example, then we'll dig more deeply into what each of these pieces mean. Now this is also a live prospect that one of you is currently working on. I want you to notice a couple of things about this particular prospect. Notice his age. At 76, many of us are thinking about retiring, but this is someone talking to one of you about potential business ownership. So this is something I've been actually preaching about for a number of years. This is the age group, the 60-plus age group, that sits with a ton of cash in their wallets and in their bank accounts. And these are folks that are typically looking to buy regions or start something for their sons or daughters or nieces or nephews. So don't ever walk away from someone simply because they're in that over 60, over 70 crowd. And you'll see pretty quickly, I'm going to show you just one page of this guy's assessment, and if you saw the rest of the assessment, you could see this is a true mover, shaker type of individual. So this is the view that he is going to get on his summary page. Notice quickly his leadership skills up here. It's a 90%, which is huge. If you've seen a bunch of these, this is kind of an unusual pattern that he has. And extremely strong sales skills. He is also at 90%. This guy could sell ice to Eskimos. This is a true mover shaker type of sales guy. Notice that he is able to build a regional business, has the energy left to do that, has the core competencies, has the drive to do that. So he's an achiever director, and he loves to be in a competitive environment. Now, some of you might be thinking, he's 76, isn't he done competing? No, he's not done competing. This is someone that loves that kind of environment. The more competitive, the better. Now let's look at our view of the same guy. So we've already talked about the values, which are always up here in the summary page, and then the work style and the culture and stage of growth. We talked last week about the competencies. Again, please notice his leadership skills and his sales skills. But here's what we're talking about today. We're talking about this area called sales and business development. So here's a guy that if you just look at his first page, we can see he needs a business that he can use his sales skills in a consultative way or in a competitive way. Now, he's not a relational, touchy-feely kind of guy, which is the other type of sales. He is someone that will do well in a consultative or competitive business environment. His sales potential is high, so this guy is going to move, he's going to shake. His business path, this is someone that can build a single unit, multi-unit, or regional development type of opportunity. So we're going to be looking for a business where he is using his sales skills that are consultative and competitive, and at the same time, we're looking for a business that he can scale, that he can start at one place and move to another, or if he has the money and you have the region, you're going to start him out at a regional development opportunity. Now notice that his compliance is average. We're going to talk about this in just a minute, but we measure the ability to comply in each of your prospective franchisee. This is a guy that's going to bend the rules. This is a guy that's going to make the rules. He's not a high complier. Now, I want you to know I've been doing this for 20 plus years, and we've done tons of top performer models on franchise companies. And what we find interesting is the superstars, the guys that are doing really well, are typically, and this is going to go counterintuitive to what you're thinking, are typically folks that don't score too high on compliance. The higher someone scores in compliance, meaning let's say up into the 10 range versus the 6, 6.5 range, the more hand-holding they need. They need those rules, they need those procedures, they need the operations manual. If they don't know what to do in a particular situation, they're calling corporate to get the answer. So they tend to be folks that follow to the T what the operations manual says. And if it's not in the operational manual, they're going to be high maintenance for the franchisor, so high cost. The true kind of sweet spot is different from one franchise system to another franchise system. I'm only pointing this out as it relates to compliance, is this is a rule breaker. He's an average, he's about a 6.5 compliance. He's going to bend the rules, he's going to make the rules, which is not a bad deal for someone who's a regional developer, because he's going to have to be creating his own structure, his own processes to manage the franchisees that he has. But he's probably not going to be the great single unit operator, because he's going to constantly feel confined and limited to what he's doing. Same prospect, okay? Consultative, competitive. Notice again the single unit, the multi-unit, the regional developer. You're seeing it on the first page, and this is further down, almost towards the last page of your assessment. Your prospect is seeing this view. So let's talk a little bit about the different sales types. Now, I know you probably think you already know some of this, and you're beginning to think in your mind, here's a franchise system that uses this type of sales. Every business requires a certain degree of sales, whether the franchisee is doing it or the franchisee is hiring to it. We need to be aware of it, and we need to be aware how much sales is required. So the consultative sale is just that. It's a sale that requires someone to advise, to educate, to listen to someone's current situation and come up with some kind of solutions, a true consultative approach. These are folks that it requires that they can build high credibility. So these are kind of the subject matter experts. These are the folks that know a particular something inside and out, and when they walk into an office or they walk into a situation, they have a place of credibility. And because of their knowledge base and their experience, they're able to build high trust. Now, granted, it also requires an incredible ability to listen and almost intuit what is going on with the customer. So a true consultative sale is someone who's able to go into a customer's environment and see the critical drivers of that business. What's going on the manufacturing floor? What's the time and motion studies? What's going on in terms of the expenses? So this is someone that understands all elements of the customer's business environment and makes sure that he is informed and abreast of what's going on. And he is focused on the priorities of that particular client that he is working with. What are their goals? What are their current initiatives? And so as a consultative sale, he is looking at solutions that address those initiatives, but is also looking at the problems or issues that could be coming up. So he has a critical eye, right? Many of you are consultative sales type. You're looking at your prospective franchisee, where his future is going, what are some of his challenges, and helping him solve that problem by providing a business opportunity. The consultative sale as a franchisee will probably be even more dug in. And if you could, for Wanda, just put in the text message if you can think of any businesses that require a consultative sale, a franchise system that requires this consultative sale. A couple that I can come up with, or one right off the top of my head, is ERA, expense reduction, where franchisee has to go in and truly look at a business and assess what's going on and help that that client get through a challenge. So the consultative sale requires that the consultant craft a solution-oriented proposal, that here's an idea, here's a way we can get you through and get you to your objectives and to your goal. Now, the consultative sale, unlike the other types of sales, can be a long and complex process. It's looking at data, it's going through information, it's spending time with the potential client, and it requires that there's a back and forth consultative, collaborative approach. So it isn't just come in, here's your solution, buy this product. It really is where the client and the franchisee is collaborating on potential solutions. Oftentimes they're customized solutions based on the expertise of this consultative sales person. So one thing's for certain, the consultative salesperson needs to come in as an expert, and even if he or she does not get that deal first time around, he has positioned himself in such a way that there's future business going back in. When this person is ready to make a decision or the budget is cleared where they can do this, they know this is the right person to call to go ahead and execute on the advisement that this consultative salesperson has offered. Competitive sales. Competitive sales, this is an individual that it's not just about making the deal. It's about literally doing everything possible to win. So this is someone that enjoys the process of competing, enjoys the process of winning. This is a strategic player. He knows the price points of his competitors. He knows the market share. He knows what products and services. He knows how to differentiate himself against his competitors. A competitive sale involves the salesperson to make an aggressive effort after business, oftentimes going into companies, going into marketplaces where he has a competitor and maybe providing greater service or providing a better price or doing something different, literally elbowing out a rival product or a rival company. Some of us, like the gentleman we just looked at in sample 2, he's a competitive sales guy. He thrives in an environment where he can elbow out the competition. Don't show him a concept where he's first to concept, or first to market rather. He's not going to be interested. He wants something where he can compete and he can measure his success against someone else. Our lady that we saw a little bit earlier, not a competitive, she's a consultative sales. So competitive sales typically requires this individual to have so much confidence and so much tenacity that they can make a single call to a high-level decision maker, the CEO, the president. They're not starting down low. They're going straight for the big guy, and they're fearless about doing so. They'll walk into that office with that level of confidence, I guess is a good way to put it. So they're also able to clearly communicate where their product or service is different and get the buyer to make a decision. Because remember, some of these companies that they're dealing with, they've used these vendors, these suppliers for years. So a competitive sales guy is not concerned if you've been using that same vendor for 15 years. He's going to show you he's better. He's going to show you his price points are more conducive to your budget, and he's going to find a way to have you move off the dime and change your supplier. So look at those kinds of businesses that would, exploit, I guess is a good way, the competitive salesperson. Who would do well in this environment? And think of some franchise systems that they're looking for, these types of folks. We don't want to put, obviously, a prospective franchisee in a business that requires competitive selling. If someone is a relational salesperson or a consultative salesperson, they're going to die on the vine. They're going to feel uncomfortable. So make sure when you're looking at your franchise systems, you're looking at the types of sales your franchise system or franchisor requires. And then take a look at this page. Relational sales. This is interesting. The relational salesperson is obviously someone who builds deep and meaningful personal, professional relationships. Oftentimes they act as advocates. They act as someone that brings about justice. So think of the educational franchise systems, the elder care systems. We're acting as advocates. We have a personal relationship with this client that typically goes for the life of that client. They will do business with a relational salesperson again and again and again. This is not someone that's going to do well in a business that's wham bam, meaning it's one sale, it's done. This is someone that prefers to have ongoing relationship with their client, having regular touch points and seeing that client on a regular basis and continuing to offer services. So someone who's a relational salesperson does not do well in a situation where you only see this client one time and you provide a service. They're looking for something long term. Now the relational salesperson tends to work really well in an autonomous environment, and they really like that they have total control of their business. The ability to sell makes them the boss. They typically have good self-discipline, and they are good at keeping those relationships close to the vest and close to them. May even be inviting these folks to parties and vacations together. And so this is more than just a sale. This is a relationship to them. Now, a relationship sale, much like the consultative sale, does require some patience. Relationships build over time. Once that relationship is built, this is a customer for life. Think, those of you ladies in the audience, think of your guy or gal that cuts and colors your hair. You've been going to him for 20 years, or your dentist, or someone that you would not give up if you had to. So someone that you have more than just here's my credit card, I want to buy your product or service, but you have some kind of relationship with. So relationship sales, they're focused on accommodating the buyer, almost to a self-sacrificing kind of place. The sale itself is dependent on that relationship. So there's this kind of codependency between the sales person and the customer. We cannot imagine going anywhere else. Now, think about this from a franchisee-franchisor perspective. A relationship sales person is someone that if they leave the business, they're with XYZ company as a corporate employee, they can literally take their business with them and go elsewhere. We see this with stockbrokers. We see this with insurance salespeople. We see this with hair care providers, where the relationship is so tight that if they leave, their customers go with them. This could be a good thing, this could be a bad thing, right? As it relates to the franchisor-franchisee relationship. So obviously if the franchisee is happy within that franchise system, they're going to stick with you. But we're concerned if they're building those relationships and there's a possibility they're discontent with the franchisor. All right. So we talked about the sales types. Be thinking about what franchise systems have what. Look at your franchisees or prospective franchisees closely. Now let's talk about the continuum as it relates to the business development. So think of the corporate ladder climber at one continuum and the regional developer at the other continuum. So the corporate ladder climber is the guy or gal that does really well within a structured corporate environment. They can literally go up through the ranks, sometimes making lateral moves, sometimes going up, but clearly able to traverse the corporate structure. My former husband was an excellent example of a corporate ladder climber. I think I shared this with you. When he was young, he was in third world countries selling toothbrushes door to door. He ended up climbing in his career to becoming CEO and chairman of the board of the third largest pharmaceutical firm. So he knew how to maneuver up that corporate ladder. If you have someone who's scoring as a corporate ladder climber, don't concern yourself. This doesn't mean they should keep their jobs. It just means you need to find a business that sort of mirrors that back. Example might be a business where someone can come in and run a particular location and then earn their way to having a location or having a franchise themselves. You'll see some franchise systems that's the model they have. They sort of promote from within. Or you have the absentee owner, like your Great Clips, etc., where they can keep their corporate ladder climbing ability over here while building something else. And this is just a project. This building a business is a project that comes under that kind of mentality. But do be cautious if you have a corporate ladder climber, especially if you're looking at some of the other markers, if he's a high belonger, if he has no real strong sales skills or some other business acumen, do be cautious when you put him in a business. He may not be the best fit. So be aware that you need to look at some other factors, and more importantly that you put him in the right business that gives him that kind of structure that he needs, where there's a level of accountability. Many of your sub shops, your 7-Elevens or convenience stores are excellent examples of where a corporate ladder climber would do okay. Second, kind of on the continuum, is the guy or gal that says, I'm leaving corporate America, I'm ready to do something, and they print a business card and it says consultant or contractor on it. And you've seen them, right? And these are technically folks that are subject matter experts. They're good at something, whatever, let's say it's structural engineering or something that they're really good at. Now, they're not a fit any longer in corporate America, but they're not a wing-it entrepreneurial type of individual either. Typically, this is an individual that will work with a handful of companies, 2, 3, 4 companies, and they will provide their subject matter expertise. In fact, oftentimes it will be to the company that they have left, they will provide certain amount of expertise. So this is an individual that if you see him and he scores this direction, you're going to look for a business where he can work with 4 or 5, probably that's all he can handle, companies, and regularly provide his expertise. And ideally, it's also a franchise system that drives those connections to him, because this is not someone who's going to go out and hit the streets or create those relationships. Ideally, he may even already have 2 or 3 of those kinds of relationships. I remember when Hewlett-Packard rolled out a concept, a printing concept in South Africa and in Asia. This was a consultative kind of sale, where it was printing companies that were already in existence that had 3 or 4 or 5 massive companies that they were already doing business with, and they basically put the HP brand on top of it. So again, a consultative sales guy with a consultative approach to building a business. Find the right business. It has to be a consultative sales, and it can't be 20 clients. It can be 3, 4, 5, where he or she is using this particular thing he's really good at. Whatever that thing is, he is good at. And again, if any of you have any ideas or examples of that, please let Wanda know, and so Wanda can interrupt me whenever. The continuum goes on. I'm sorry, Wanda?
I was saying that I'm on standby. I'm waiting.
Yay! You go, girl. So this continuum goes on, right? So we have the next phase is the entrepreneur. This is the wild and crazy entrepreneur that is got beyond corporate America. He's got beyond this, okay, I'm a consultant mentality. He's going to come up with the widget. He's going to take the risk. He's going to find the financing. He's going to build the business plan. This is a true crazy risk taker. This is Rebecca Monet. This is me right here, and probably some of you out there. So not exactly a good fit for most franchise systems, right? Because they want to innovate, they want to create, they want to push the boundaries, they want to do it differently. So not always a good fit for at least a stage 3, 4, or 5 business, but good fit for companies that are earlier stage that need a certain amount of innovation, or need us as business owners to push the boundaries just a little bit. So an entrepreneur is sort of walking that line. So oftentimes we will attract in early stage franchise systems entrepreneurial type. They'll burn out in 3 to 5 years, 7 years max. They'll say, bored with this, ready to move on to something else. So if a franchisor is an early stage franchise system and they're open to entrepreneurial types. Just know these entrepreneurial types will give it 100% and even more to build, and then they'll be ready to sell or move on to something different. So prepare your franchisor that this is an entrepreneurial type. Mr. Franchisor, you're an early stage franchise system. I think this guy is going to work. He's probably a 3 to 5 to 7 year franchisee. Are you open to that? And some franchise systems are indeed open to that. Now, there are some franchise systems that like this entrepreneurial spirit and have that level of flexibility, and I'm sure you know a couple of them. Typically, they are earlier stage franchise systems, very innovative, trendy types of systems. So we're moving on, okay? We're no longer corporate, we're no longer consultants, we're not this wild, crazy entrepreneur, we're settling down just a little bit. We have the mentality of a single unit owner-operator type of business. This is what we're looking for, right? This is the biggest bulk. It's kind of on that bell curve. This is most franchisees, right? So willing to follow systems, willing to follow procedures, put heart and soul into their locations or into that business, a typical single unit franchisee. So again, you'll see this on your scoring, and I want you to sort of just take a quick look at that and say, this is a single unit operator. I'm not going to put them in a new franchise system that is only doing multi-unit and regional, because she's not going to be comfortable. I need to put her in maybe a stage 3 or stage 4 business, or a business where she can run that business and have a certain amount of emotional and psychological ownership of that location. Multi-unit, naturally we're going to evolve. Some of us are wired to do lots of things. Okay, we're going to hire managers, we're going to put people in place, we're going to do a multi-unit operation. So again, we don't want to put them in a system that doesn't provide that. They're going to be miserable. Even if you can sell that to them, they're going to be miserable because they can't scale or grow the way they want. So find systems that exploit their talents and is consistent with their ultimate goal. They may not be at a financial place where they can be a multi-unit owner yet, but the report will report out saying this is the direction they're going. This is what they're capable of. So find a system that allows them to do just that. Regional developer, okay, wonderful, right? If we have a concept that still has that kind of territory available. Now, typically someone who's scoring as a regional developer will also score as a multi-unit operator. So you can move them down, but honestly, if they're a regional developer mentality, they're not really going to be truly satisfied until they believe they can dominate or control a particular region. Now, that's going to be different from franchise system to franchise system, right? Could be zip codes, could be in a whole country, but you'll have to get an idea from your prospective franchisee what they envision. Is it several locations? Is it just a lot of folks out in the marketplace that are doing the selling or providing of the services and they're managing them? What do they mean by regional development opportunity? Because even from franchise system to franchise system, that term varies. Okay. So let's go through a few examples. Recently, we're doing some research on top performers. So currently we have 39 franchisors that have volunteered their top performers to take a very comprehensive assessment. It's more comprehensive than what you guys are currently working with, but it includes what you're working with. So we're doing 15 to 20 top performers within 39 franchise system. And so for today, I thought, let me go through and see if there's any patterns, because I still haven't crunched all the numbers yet. So I saw some patterns I wanted to share with you as quickly as I could. Here is the pattern of a top performer within a company called 4 Pillars Consulting. It's also the pattern of First Light Home Care. So these folks are consultative types of sales folks. They're also consultative contractor types. They're not wild, crazy entrepreneurs. They're also ready to leave corporate America. And they can also be single unit franchisees. So this is First Light Home Care and Four Pillars Consulting. If you look at that business model, it makes sense, right? This is a model where we're solving problems. We're sitting down, looking at someone's business in Four Pillars Consulting and helping them come up with solutions to grow market share. So First Light Home Care, another great example where we're using consultative sales skills and we think more like a contractor or consultant or single unit operator. We're thinking in that way when we're sitting down with our clients and we're solving their elder care challenges. Also, First Light Home Care is a stage 2 company. This is a company that still has some flexibility in what they're doing. So it makes some sense that they're acting as a consultant or a single unit operator. Let me move on and give you another couple of examples just so you can be thinking. Here's a top performer model on Firehouse subs, a sub shop. I don't know if they're in your inventory, but they are a relational sales type and a competitive sales type. Is a sub business a competitive business? Are there a gazillion sub shops in your city or county? There are here in San Diego. So clearly this needs to be someone that thinks competitively, knows how to position himself against those other shops, and at the same time builds relationships with his customers so folks will come back to Firehouse versus going somewhere else. So a combination of a relational sales type and a competitive sales type. This is not a consultative sale. We don't have to consult with someone if they want tomatoes or onions or jalapenos on their sub. They can make those decisions on their own. But it is a competitive and relational sale. So this is also a concept. The top performers are single unit, multi-unit, regional developer mentality. They are not corporate ladder climbers, they are not consultants, they're not entrepreneurs. So most of their top performers will score within a single, multi-unit, and regional development opportunity. So we're looking for, in this concept, someone that's relational and competitive in sales and has a multi-unit kind of mentality. So we're not going to put corporate ladder climbers into this business. Even though it's a cookie cutter business, this is not a business for a corporate ladder climber or an entrepreneur, because the systems are too snug, they're too buttoned down. The entrepreneur would be bored and he would be crazy, right? Okay. Baby boot camp. Consultative, competitive. Entrepreneur, single unit, multi-unit. The baby boot camp, again, is a business that requires someone that's consultative. But because there's a lot of competition out there for that particular market share, it requires that they have both of these skills as a competitive salesperson and a consultative salesperson. Now notice that the baby boot camp, the entrepreneur part comes out. This is a newer concept. This is a concept that can allow for a certain amount of innovation, and so the entrepreneur does well in that particular situation. But it also encourages single unit and multi-unit. Now remember, this data is coming from 15 or 20 top performers within each of these concepts. I noticed my slide before I had the wrong company name up there, so I'll have to go back and figure out what that one was. All right, let's work together here. So what business would this person be? This is actually one of your current candidates, someone that has a consultative as well as a relational kind of sales orientation, and they are a single unit franchisee, so a more hands-on owner-operator kind of business, and they enjoy building long-term, deep, meaningful relationships and consulting. So what kind of business would this prospective franchisee be? And if you want to answer, fine, in the text chat. Otherwise, just be thinking about it, right? Just be thinking about, what do I do with this guy? Based on everything else also, obviously, we don't want to make all our decisions just from these two markers, but this is a good place to begin. Let's backtrack just a little bit, and then we're going to open it up, Wanda, to questions. This is the first page of the summary. You'll get to a point where you look at just the summary page, because the rest, in my opinion, is a lot of yada yada, a lot of validating the data, but this is sort of just in a single page, everything you need to see, and so you're ready to talk to that prospective franchisee. So I wanted to point out a few things, the different combinations, and there's a gazillion different combinations. Obviously, here we have a consultative, competitive sales guy, single unit, multi-unit regional developer, average compliance. This was the 76-year-old, and notice his sales potential is high. Here's a woman, and you can tell it's a woman because we can see the silhouette back there of the woman versus the man over here. The sales orientation, relational and competitive. Kind of an interesting combination, right? This would be like real estate sales would be a good example of a relational and competitive sales. Someone who has a very high sales potential. Her business path is entrepreneurial, single unit. We're going to need to put her in a business that is stage 2, moving to stage 3, where she's going to build long-term relational connections with her contacts. Now, because she has a very high sales potential, we're going to put her in a business that allows her to express that. This is someone that's good at what she does in terms of sales. Compliance, low. This is someone that's going to break every possible rule out there. So we want to put her in a system that gives her that flexibility, knowing that she's going to do it. It's just how she's wired. And so we don't want to put her in a system where there's someone breathing down her neck. Okay, over to the right, consultative, average sales potential. Again, an entrepreneur, single unit, a high compliance. This is someone that's going to require a little more hand-holding. This is someone that's going to call corporate offices and ask for the right way to do things. So we need a franchise system that has strong support that can help this prospective franchisee go through that process, because he's going to be, or she's going to be placing a lot of pressure on corporate. Tell me what to do. What's my next step? Now, with an average sales potential, we may encourage her to possibly hire a salesperson, or we're going to put her in a business that doesn't require a lot of sales. Maybe it's repeat types of business, where once she acquires those clients, she doesn't have to sell them again and again and again. So the rest are just sort of examples. I wanted you to sort of see that all these pieces sort of come together. We want to make sure we have a franchise system that is consistent with their business path and their sales orientation, as well as everything else, and to pay attention to their compliance markers and their sales potential markers. If their markers are low in sales, find a business that requires not too many sales. Or if they fall in love with the business and it's perfect in every other way except the type of sales and except for their sales potential, then we're going to encourage that they hire to that competency, because obviously we can't build a business without the sales.
To learn more about the SpotOn profile, take the assessment yourself by clicking on the link below. Or reach out to us directly for your 30-day free trial.